course of studying the second mantra, I had asked you a question last week. And during the course of the first mantra, which was studied a little while earlier, I left you all with a question, wanting you all to give your experiences. I shall read both the questions out, but I'll take the second question first, and the first question with your experiences at the end of the class. Now, the question we will take up later: how does letting go, which is nothing but the concept of renunciation, how does letting go give you a sense of freedom? I don't want you to explain the philosophy because we already have studied that. I remember when I explained the first mantra, I did ask you all to briefly give your own personal experiences where when you did let go, how did it, what was that experience of experiencing renunciation, of letting go? Okay, that was the question. We'll take it up later. But the question in the context of the second mantra: how do Vasanas determine whether you take to the path of action or to the path of renunciation? I repeat, how do Vasanas determine whether one takes to the path of action or to the path of renunciation? Now, I'm sure you all have given your thought to it. Now, in what context was it said? In the context of the first mantra, talks about renouncing action. It's meant for the highest cadre of spiritual seekers who can renounce action itself. Renouncing action is nothing but, please don't mistake, when they say renouncing action, it doesn't mean you become inactive. What renouncing action means, you are not rushing out into the world, you are not extroverted, you are more exploring within, which makes you highly introverted, more designed for the path of renunciation and meditation. The verse 1 is, mantra 1 is talking about those who are able to renounce action itself, which is possible when you renounce the vasanas. You have risen to such a level, you understand the futility in any extroverted pursuit, you just drop it. It's like when you, by mistake, pick up a hot plate. What do? Just let go, isn't it? You just get rid of it because it's causing that burning sensation. You don't want to hold on to it even a second further. You let go of it. That kind of, when you are firmly grounded that there is no purposeful life, if you lead a life of extroversion, if it has ingrained in your system, if it becomes your nervous spiritual system, if it becomes the spine of your spiritual system, that any extroverted life is a life in vain, you will drop such activity to the extent you have the capacity. You will not lead that life any further You can't say, sir, I understand, yes, extrovertedness is useless and you will never be contented, blah, 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 and still continue to lead such extroverted life. That means you have not understood it. One who has understood it, he'll just drop it. Borrowing the words of the Guru, he says, there's no pith and substance in it. There's nothing worth in it. So that's when you drop. That's when the first mantra talks of the path of renunciation, the path of action spoken. In the second mantra, he encourages us to perform action. But what kind of action? We are talking about action. You perform renouncing all the non-essentials, renouncing everything that comes along while you take to action, which is not the case for the first cadre of student. A person who takes to action is constantly stressed, is worried, is tormented with anxieties and worries, is infested, his mind is infested with emotions, there's insecurity. You tell me what not, all the possible known diseases are there. The mind harbors all those diseases. Why? Action has stained him. But the second mantra is talking of performing actions which do not stain, which purify you. Purify you what? Purify the vasanas and the very desires that prompt you to action. So how should I know whether am I to take the path of renunciation or am I to take the path of action? We said it is your vasanas that determine whether you take the path of action or the path of renunciation. But this is the backdrop for those who have lost the context of it. This is the backdrop. Now, there's a very simple process through which you know whether you are designed to the path of action or renunciation. Now, and that only way you'll find out, the first step is you need to put yourself in the marketplace. Off late, we're talking too much of marketplace. And there's Mondays also we are talking Kabira Khada Bazaar Mein. So we'll not talk of Kabira now, but you have to be in the marketplace. Why do you have to be in the marketplace? Marketplace is that which gives you the various stimuli. When you're in the marketplace, what is marketplace? Oh, I went down to the marketplace. You are in a remote, deserted village. You come into the marketplace, there are 10 villages. That's the main street. You go there, a few old, retired, nothing to do fellows. They come and sit there with their pack of BDs, and I sit with them, and I also catch up a few BDs with them. This is not the marketplace I'm talking about. Marketplace is where in the din and roar, where there's so much that's the world happening around you. There's so much of stimuli. Put yourself in the city center. Put yourself in the, all these, huge malls. Right from head to toe, you can get pampered. If you have the capacity to buy, you can buy sight for your eyes, taste for your tongue, smell for your nose, touch for your skin. Touch for your skin is you can get yourself pampered, head to toe massage. I tell you what kind of massage they give you, deep treatment they give you, deep massage. And where? You can get them in the airport, you can get them in the mall, you can get them everywhere. So you want touch for your skin, etc. So every sense organ of yours can be the stimuli for that. Now, when you are in the marketplace, when the world sends itself, when the world sends various stimuli into you, first point, as it be in the marketplace, which takes care of the receipt of stimuli. So once the stimuli reaches you, then there is bound to be a possible reaction within. The possible reaction within is determined by the quotient of your vasanas. If I have the vasanas in me and the stimuli reaches to me, And if there is a vasana in me, there is a reaction between the vasana and the stimuli. For example, there is this, what is this? A long time, I don't know, maybe of 2 years or so, we had gone to a mall recently, just for a change. Chalo, yeah. The family wanted us, let's go. Went for a drive and spend a little evening there, grab some food, whatever was available, we came back. It's a good test. You should test yourself on and off. You're all the time retrieving from the world, you're withdrawing into a sanctuary where you want to build your inner strength through withdrawal, through jnanam, through sadhana, through tapas. You're burning off your vasanas. So how do you know how much of your vasanas you've burned? Once in a while, go into the marketplace and find out how your mind is behaving, isn't it? That's how you know. Otherwise, how would you know how your mind is behaving? So there was this play area, the top floor, the large play area. And Vaishnavi was excited. Daddy, remember that we used to play when we were a kid? I remember in Malaysia, I used to take her to these places. I don't know what we call that. There used to be this large, like a what board is that you call the snooker table, Madhuri, you know, size of a snooker table. And they'll have this strikers, and you'll have two, what, I don't, something to hit the strikers, you know, and they keep sliding and they keep their pocket is like you got to the ice hockey. Harish is given me that that answer, ice hockey, but it's not that is your ice hockey, it's a table hockey you play. And Daddy, let's go and play. I said, okay, we'll go and play, you know. And then we couldn't figure it out, but she went for another ride. I'm saying, not that there was a vasana in me to play that then, nor is there a vasana in me to play it now. What I'm saying is how the stimuli triggers a latent vasana. If there is a vasana, it's not necessary it manifests. When it has a conducive soil, it manifests. It's like a seed which is being there in the soil, just waiting for the conduciveness for it to sprout. So the first, be in the marketplace. It provides you the stimuli. And then you go to the next stage, you check the reaction within your personality, you know what is happening within your mind and intellect. If there is a vasana, if there's a residue of a vasana also, there is a reaction within you. And if there is a reaction, you will have responses to that input. Either it's favorable or it's unfavorable. Means you say, oh yeah, I'm interested. Let me explore. Let me experience that. That's nice. I like that. So there is a favorable reaction, or you say, I don't think I'm interested. And thank you very much. You know, I pass. Take another time, if at all. But for now, no, I'm not interested. So there is either a response which is in favor, or there's a response which is not in your favor. Now the simple question I'm asking is, Amitama, when the responses are in favor of the receipt, what part do you take? When the responses are not in favor of the receipt, what part do you take?
Hari Om, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Yeah. So when the responses are in favor, you take the path of action. And when the responses are not in favor, you take the path of renunciation.
So when the responses, when the reaction,
reaction is favorable.
Reaction is favorable to the
stimuli,
you take the path of action. So when your reaction or responses are not in favor to the stimuli, you are not interested in the action. It gives you an environment where you become a Buddha. in the marketplace. You get it? So the acid test is, do you get excited? Do you run berserk in the world? You can be in the most happening place. It could be in Manhattan, it could be any city center, it could be full of action, but you can say no, thank you very much. That purely depends on what vasanas you have. And how do you know what vasanas you have? By being in the marketplace. By being away from it, you wouldn't know. I've lived in ashram for over 5 years, so I know what I'm talking. A world where it's protected, where you are not given any other stimuli. How do you know whether you have actually transcended that, or whether you have really a vasana for it? And what happened to that? Would you know? You would know. No way. Now, you all remember the example I've taken before? Ushama, do you remember the example? Ushama, Malaysia. Good to have you back now.
Yes, Guruji.
A lot of tuning needs to happen, but we'll help you with it. But do you remember the example I've taken before in the context? A personal example of mine, which only nothing great about it, but just an innocuous example which helps us understand how these vasanas behave. No idea? Okay. Wisdom Usha Kaundinya. No, even when you remove the tag, we will still call you with the tag only. Ma. Enema, are you able to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Namaste, Guruji. I'll feel very embarrassed if you do that, Guruji.
No. My job is to make you all comfortable and also uncomfortable. I'm only talking about the example. Do you remember the example? I know Rajima knows. She'll answer.
Was it about that vada pav thing, Guruji?
Correct. Remember, ashram, we were not allowed to go out, and if at all you went, you had to go with another student, obviously some work related to ashram. And, we refrained from having anything outside and things. But whenever we used to travel and we had to skip a meal, I was first exposed to vada pav, which is there in that part of the country, Maharashtra, Bombay, Pune, and all. There's a lot of this vada pav. And and it really appealed, it's that fast food, and it really appealed. And then you develop a taste for it. And the taste for it is nothing but, what is taste for it?
It is just your stimuli.
Stimuli. When you develop a taste for it, you have developed a vasana for it.
Okay, vasana. Yes.
That's all you want to understand. So I did not know existence of vada pav.
Yeah.
Once, twice you go and end up coming to the ashram, a desire for vada pav. Then what happens? When can I eat the next vada pav?
Yeah.
And the interesting part was, during all the years, I was head of kitchen departments. It was within my hands, whatever to make. Okay, next meal, dinner will be vada pav, I can tell these fellows and they'll make. And so I took a little bit of liberty here and then to say, okay, make vada pav tomorrow. They made, but it is a poles apart. One is North Pole, other is South Pole. There is nowhere near. Is this vada pav? I used to tell these kitchen fellows, you please go and learn from this railway station. There's a vada pav store. No, please learn from that fellow and come. I used to tell. I know I think there used to be a person called Keshav. Keshav he was servant of ashram and Swamiji for 30-40 years. He was a cook. So I was a young boy, just 16, 17, and he used to treat me like his grandkid. And he used to tolerate me, whatever I used to do, little pranks. Now, What I'm saying is the desire which was there. What happened to that Vasana? How do I know? Is the Vasana prompting me to go and seek it? And the last vada pav, which was very good, reminded me was, thanks to Rajima and Hariji, it was a fortnight, 10 days ago, a week or 10 days ago, a week ago, not a week ago, we went and they told, Guruji, this vada pav, let's have. That's when we had. So what I'm trying to, it may be an innocuous example, but what I'm trying to say, it's very important. The first element of being in the marketplace exactly tells you, is the Vasana driving you into the experience, or have you risen above the Vasana, but you still have a capacity to enjoy it? Yeah. If you still offer me a vada pav, I really enjoyed it. But having enjoyed it, Rajima, never ever, the past 10 days, never ever a thought had come away, let me go and have an, it's just, actually the store is a beautiful store, 5 minutes from my house, 10 minutes from my house. The thought never ever again popped up, let me go and have it. I may not have it for the next 5 years. You give me, I'll still enjoy the rest of my life. Where you have conquered, overpowered, uprooted the Vasana. Not that you consciously had to do some tapas to get rid of that Vasana for vada pav. No specific sadhana for getting rid of vada pav desire. But how the desires get uprooted when you embark on a higher journey is an example. You may have a taste, you may still love it, but the drive, the desire which draws you into experience gets extinguished. It's burnt out. Perfect. That's the example I was looking for, Ma. Thank you. Right. So this is how you would know whether you have a Vasana or something. And as you progress spiritually, the progression is nothing but from extroversion to introversion. A person who's more action oriented becomes more thought oriented. You give more thought than just rushing into action. That sheer shift, if I can take a step back to my own life and see, I can see the sheer transformation, the sheer change of that change of flavor of my own personality. But still I'm innately the same, but that flavor has beautifully changed. You become far more withdrawn within yourself, but yet very active mentally, very active mentally. It's not that you become tamasic, please. All right. So that's how you know whether you are designed for path of action or renunciation. Yes, Ushama. Yeah, you can speak, Ma. You're still unmuted.
Yeah, Guruji, doesn't path of action lead to path of renunciation?
The question you're asking is, does path of action lead you to path of renunciation? Let me ask someone who was there in the last class to help answer that question. Let me ask Shantima. You were there last week, Shantima? Can you please answer Ushama in the class? Does path of action lead you to path of renunciation?
Yeah, Ariyo, Guruji.
Yes, Mahadev.
Yeah, yes, I remember the train station, you actually have given the example. Yes, it will lead to the path of action, to the path of renunciation. Is depending on the caution of your vasanas. When in the journey, you will drop your desires. That's how you evolve in your path. So gradually, basically, you will when you drop your vasanas in your journey, that's where you reach your path of renunciation.
Does that help, Ushama?
But earlier you said that if vasanas are in your favor, you get to the path of action. So is it a bit contradictory, the And I mean, if you don't have a vasana for it, what are you saying about path of renunciation?
I'm sorry, what?
But if you don't
Is
have
it?
a vasana, I don't know whether I came in at the.
No, please, not at
Yeah.
all. Go ahead.
No, if you say that if you don't have a vasana for, if you have a vasana for it, earlier they said if it is in your favor, you take the path of action. You didn't. And if you are not in favor of it, it is path of renunciation. So when you are not in favor of it, saying that you don't have a vasana, what are you talking about? Renunciation. Renounce what? You don't have a vasana for it.
Path of renunciation means you have renounced the vasana. Your path of renunciation is a path of meditation, is a path of introversion. So a simple example. Thanks, Shantima. Okay, you're very right. Okay, now example. Let's say when there is a New Year, on the New Year's Eve, what everybody does, they go out, they have a gathering, they go to a party, they celebrate, they have a big bash and whatnot, When you are not interested in that, you have no interest in all that late night celebrations or what is New Year, you say just another day. You in fact tell yourself, I want to celebrate the New Year in the most auspicious way. I'll get up at Brahma Muhurtam. I'll go to a temple. I'll do my sadhana. I'll do my prayers. So you will retire early on the New Year's Eve, and the entire city, everybody is trying to jump with excitement. The whole world, in fact, there's a countdown and whatnot. Now, when you are not having a desire or a vasana for that kind of a life, when you have renounced that kind of extrovertedness, are you not introverted? Have you not renounced all that external, extravagant exhibition which you're not interested in? Where are you? Are you not within yourself, by yourself, withdrawn to yourself? Then you have renounced that. You've got an opportunity, you've created the time and space for yourself to be with yourself, to discover yourself. Is it not? Or you are in the din and roar of the marketplace, in this discotheques and these clubs and all that hangama around you. I still remember, just for the experience of once or twice, if at all, maximum twice. My first early years of my stay in Malaysia, we drove to the nearest point of the Twin Towers, where there used to be this fireworks on the New Year's Eve. I don't have to tell you that to you. Just go, just 2 minutes, maximum 3 minutes. There's this fireworks, and there's a serpentine queue, and there's such a rush for that. And I know what I'm talking about. For the hell of it, I've experienced that. So you go and stand at 11:45 in front of the Twin Towers, and you see that, oh wow, and finished. 2 minutes, everything only, then smoke. And then you could spend another 1 hour to come back home, and what it's not. I'm not talking someone who is in the woods. I know what I'm talking. So you experience it, and then you say, yes, this is what this does, this is what that does. So does that example give you clarity? When you have no vasana, when you choose to say no to it because of no interest, it gives you a time and space to go inward, and then you can reflect and study these scriptures and do that sadhana. Then you're more introverted. Otherwise, every invitation you're rushing outward. You get it? Does that clarify? If
Actually,
at all
when
there
you
is
say the path of action, I was thinking it's the, when you say path, it's like, it's not the path of action. I mean, I took it like, do the action properly, and then you go to path of renunciation, like karma yoga, path of
correct.
action.
That is what it is. Karma yoga is the path of action. Who performs a karma yoga? Who performs karma yoga? The extroverted people perform karma yoga. Now, why are they performing karma yoga? To get rid of their vasanas and desires. So you are using yoga of action to burn the vasanas will propel you to action. Now write down this phrase, then you'll understand. You are engaging in the path of action, which is brackets karma yoga, which propels you into action. So you're using action to burn vasanas. So when you use action to burn your vasanas is karma yoga. That's all you must understand. When you use action to burn your vasanas is karma yoga. When I have vasanas and if I don't act, what would happen? You tell me. If I have vasanas, in the name of spirituality, I'm not acting. What would that be? Am I not a hypocrite? Huh? I have in me the vasanas. Oh, a spiritual person should not go for all the celebrations and parties and whatnot. No, I am not interested. Externally, I say no to it. Internally, my mind is craving for it. What am I? Am I not a hypocrite? So for people who have vasanas, the Shastras are saying, no, that is not a problem. Please adopt this action. Use action as a means to plow yourself out of this maze of vasanas or desires so that you become more lighter. And as you become lighter and shed the vasanas, you become more contemplative, introspective, meditative. Then you are designed for the path of renunciation, which is a highly evolved state, which the example Shantima has taken. It's the same train, you're just boarding it a little early or a little later. That's about all. And quickly, just the example, Amitama. Okay, so let me ask Arunama. Arunama, you remember the example we took? Boarding the train.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hariyamma.
Yeah. Yes,
You
Guruji.
remember the example we took last week of the boarding train? We took 3 stations.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember, Guruji.
Can you briefly mention to Shama, please?
Guruji was telling that we board the train, say from KL, and then from Malacca, you are going to Singapore. So a person who is boarding this is what I remember. I'm not too sure how exactly you worded it, Guruji, but my understanding is this. So if you board the train from KL to reach Singapore, you have a longer journey. But if you board the train from Malacca to reach Singapore, you have a shorter journey. So it's the same way you relate to both the paths.
Correct. So it's either you are closer to a destination. So a person, I also took example, someone boarding the train in Johor.
Yes, yes.
So
Guruji.
if you're in KL, Kuala Lumpur, you're furthermost from destination of Singapore. Malacca is midway. Johor is just a stone's throw. So a person who is in Johor also has to board the train to cross across the border, which is, let's say you're crossing to that immortality, which is the destination. So the last stage is a person who is in the verge of realization. Malacca represents someone who is in midway during a spiritual journey. All of us are somewhere in the mid-course, where we have seen life, we have experienced life, we have accumulated the vasanas, and now we are decided, I want to get rid of the vasanas. I don't think anyone amongst us here is sitting and craving and entertaining thoughts of the world. Are you? Oh, I want to experience this, I want to do that. No, you may want to experience whatever opportunity provides you, but you don't sit and plan and scheme and entertain and ponder and be dejected. Oh, COVID has made my life a hell because I couldn't travel the world and I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. I missed this, I missed that. I don't think you are at that. You are not yet boarded the train. Like somebody said, they have not yet purchased the platform ticket, or somebody not even entered the railway station. They're somewhere meandering somewhere. They're searching for the station. They're not yet in the journey. So that should help, Shama. Okay. All right. I've not been seeing the chats. I think a couple of questions. Tinkima, yes, please.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om.
This thing about path of renunciation, you said, if you have a vasana, you respond. If you don't have a vasana, you are not attracted, you will not respond. So when I don't want something, and so then I have no interest, how is it renunciation? Maybe I've just exhausted that vasana, but I have not renounced it. Is there a difference between the two? Perhaps I enjoyed doing particular, like somebody wanted to play video games when they were children. Now they've exhausted that, they've outgrown it. That does not mean renouncing, does it? In my understanding, maybe I'm wrong. Renunciation is wanting something, liking something, enjoying something, and yet choosing that this is not what I will do. Because I'm on a spiritual path, my goal is different. This will take me back to the world. So this I didn't understand. If I don't have a vasana and I will not respond, how is it renunciation? That is my question.
See, I said renunciation means you are more introverted, right? So when somebody is ready for the path of renunciation, it makes them more introverted, more meditative. Is that, there's no doubt on that, isn't it? Right. So when somebody, it's not, see, obviously you should have gone through the process of, not that you had no vasana at all. It's like me asking you, when did you renounce the vasana for alcohol? Guruji, sorry? What are you asking? I never had a desire for alcohol. I've always been a teetotaler all my life. Then you say, Guruji, what are you talking about? How can I be practicing? How can I renounce something which I never had? Then your statement is valid. But renunciation is to a vasana which existed and you've risen about it. Example,
but here,
vada
sir,
pav. Hello. Example, vada pav. I'm just establishing my point. You had a vasana, you had a taste for it, you know what it is, and then you've risen above it. So I know what my level is. My level is vada pav level. So I know a long way to go. Spiritual journey is a long way. So let me not talk high words and think I'm too highly spiritual. I know I am level of vada pav. Okay, I've gone over the first hurdle, vada pav hurdle. Many hurdles further ahead. I know RPG has a problem with the vada pav also because he has a liking for vada pav. He'll get there. I know RPG, with all my support and love and teachings, you will cross that also one day. Don't worry. Okay, RPG. My blessings with thee, that you shall cross over the hurdle of vada pav as well very soon.
I have a very good vada pav maker in the house as well, so that's a problem.
That is that I have to find another solution for that.
Yeah, it's my karma.
And that's your karma. That apart from vada pav, it's your karma. That is understandable.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, RPG. Thank you. Yes. बोलिए टिंकी माँ, आप मुझे छोड़ रहे हैं आप मुझे आज.
मैं नहीं छोड़ने वाली गुरुजी, because you said if there is a stimulus and it triggers a response in me, I will take action because I have a vasana for that. If the stimulus is there, but it does not trigger a response because I do not have a vasana, how is it renunciation? It only means I have exhausted that vasana, or I never had a vasana, even though the environment is conducive. So if casually someone asks, Tinky, do you like having a drink? I say, no, never. But when I go to a party and I see a variety and I say, oh, I think I should have, that means there is an unmanifest vasana, right? So when the stimulus is there and I do not respond, it is not renunciation because I don't have a vasana. It's only either I've exhausted it. That's my understanding. I can't accept anything else. Sorry.
No, you don't have to accept it. You only have to follow the logic that is being maintained. Then you ponder over it. You know, you don't accept or reject anything in a platform like this because it's difficult to process. You later on process it. Now I appreciate you reiterating the point, but I would still like to go back to the same example. There is a difference between the non-existential vasana No, please be alert, ma. Please be patient. There's a difference between the non-existential vasana for alcohol vis-a-vis the exhausted vasana for vada pav. Right? Do you see a difference in these two?
My question again is only if there is a stimulus and I don't respond, is it exhausted vasana or is it renunciation of?
That you should know. That you should know. How can I sit in judgment whether your state of not being interested, it's because of a vasana which existed and you burnt out, or you had no taste for it and no vasana at all? How am I to know? You got to make that judgment.
Then why would it be renunciation? That's what I'm saying. Why call it
that is why I said it is used renunciation to vada pav and not to alcohol. That is why I've been very clear. I have adopted the path of knowledge, self-control, and withdrawal, and risen above that frivolous desire for vada pav. I've risen above it. So what have I done? Have I not adopted the path of renunciation to that? Have I not renounced the value for the lower? Have I not renounced the very vasana itself, which has got burnt away with the fire of knowledge?
So that means it's a deliberate choice.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to.
That is what I've been saying.
So
that is what I wanted. What do you mean? That is what I wanted. That is what I've been saying from the very beginning. Arey, ye kya baat hui hai? Hum dono ek hi baat bol rahe hain. We both are saying the same thing. It's just the different, maybe that particular word struck a chord with you. But in fact, the whole quintessential difference is the non-existential vasana for alcohol vis-a-vis a vasana for vada pav existed and terminated. So the same state, you may say, I am sorry, I'm not interested. But you will say, sir, where can be renunciation? I don't think I'm a woman of great renunciation. You can't measure me by me saying no to alcohol because I never had a vasana for it. But your capacity of renunciation is always measured with your vasanas. So you don't measure my level of renunciation for no desire for alcohol. No, that's no big deal. I also had no desire for alcohol. That is not the tool to measure my level of spirituality or anyone's level. Your level of spirituality is measured with your vasanas.
So that means there's a difference between a deliberate choice that we make and just a gradual letting go, which is like exhausting the vasana. Is that the difference, right? Because we talk so much about exhausting vasana, now it's renunciation. So that very fine.
All one and the same. You had the choice to experience something, but you said no. I don't want to lead. A simple statement, a concept. One who indulges in the vasanas is a materialist, a sensualist. One who thinks of the higher. I repeat, one who indulges in the vasanas is a materialist, is a sensualist. That is a definition of a material or sensual person. Let's say I have realized that I have a certain vasana. I have made that inner resolve that I don't want to indulge in these vasanas anymore. That very decision makes me a spiritual person. Then I embark on a certain course to get rid of my vasana. And in due course, that vasana gets burnt off, gets thinner and disappears. So the path that you have resolved that I don't want to indulge in my vasanas, the choice you make, I don't want to indulge in my vasanas and I want to exhaust them, makes you a spiritualist. A person who indulges in the vasanas is a sensualist, a materialist. So, and we all have vasanas. If we have no vasanas, you're a person of realization, which is not the case. Since we all have vasanas, there are different paths. The path of action for the initial spiritual seekers, the path of renunciation for the advanced spiritual seekers. Mantra 1 talks of the advanced spiritual seekers. Mantra 2 talks of the lower cadre, who must perform selfless action to get rid of the vasanas. He says these vasanas don't stain you. They are not even talking of unselfish. They are not even talking of selfish. They're only talking of selfless actions. It's a very high state the second mantra is talking about. It's not a joke. The course of your actions, 24 hours, how many of your actions are selfless in nature? Find out. You'll be surprised if you find a residue of them. Find traces of selflessness is congratulate yourself. All shades of unselfish and selfish. Shades. Selflessness is a very high level, very, very high level. Okay. Okay, Tinkima.
Yes, Guruji. Deliberate choice not to respond to a stimulus which I like or enjoy, but I choose not to. That is renunciation. That's what I want.
That is the path of renunciation. You have taken to the path. You know? But you don't do that to the extent you frustrate yourself, please.
Then I use my intellect and say, no, kharid lo aaj. Intellect bol raha hai, le lo to le lo.
But yeah,
No,
we do that. But ultimately, real renunciation is rising above the desire. Remember that.
Yeah.
Renunciation is rising above the desire drops off ultimately. That is true renunciation.
So I think I may be going off the track. Is this the same as you talk about renunciation in action? Because you say no, it's not.
Yes, that is it. That is it. Yes, you are still performing action. That's why, go back to that opening statement. Even today, I said mantra 1 talks of renouncing action. Mantra 2 talks of renouncing the appendages to action. Non-essentials. So you are still in the performance of action, but renouncing the fruits, etc. Mantra 1, the vasana is no more. So you already got rid of it. So mantra 2 takes you to mantra 1. That's all. Mantra 2 is the path. Mantra 1 is the goal. Mantra 2 is the cause. Mantra 1 is the effect. The cause and effect. So selfless action is the cause. Transcending the vasana is the effect. And be true to yourself. I have to be true to myself, whether I have got it in me or not. And I know what vasana I have, what vasana I don't have, what I need to do. I need to have an idea. All right.
No,
all right. Perfect. Most welcome. Yes. Yes, Haresh. Thanks for your patience. Yes, sir, please.
Hariam Guruji. Guruji, I think you may have answered my question, but I just want to clarify, Guruji.
Please.
You're talking about example, the vada paos, that it's 10 or 15 minutes away from your house, but you will not especially go there, only on a conducive environment or conducive platform, you will enjoy it, not otherwise. My question, Guruji, is what if somebody's example, because people have a different sense of a taste for their tongue. They want a particular dish. They go to the same restaurant every day, Monday to Friday. They'll have the same dish for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. At some point, it stops. But the fact they're doing it, eating the same dish to the same restaurant every day, they look forward to it. Does that basically mean that they are indulging, they are materialist and sensualist in their vasanas in this context? Because they're going to seek the specific dish in the specific restaurant Monday to Friday when they're at work. Example.
That state is called as spiritually rotten.
Wow.
Where you become a complete slave of your tongue and your vasana, and you're rotting in that state.
Okay.
Can you imagine being a slave of your tongue, where you don't even give yourself a variety? So you go back to the same beaten path, they call, isn't it? It's a beaten path. It's like you're going in circles. You just go nowhere. That's a state where you're spiritually rotting. You become a slave of the senses. And the only way you got to get rid of it is by taking an axe of detachment, Harish. The only way you got to unwind yourself from this tangled state of attachment is take an axe of detachment and chop it off and get yourself liberated. That's the only way one gets rid of it, because these attachments are so strong, you can't unwind yourself. You've got to take an axe. That's how the Shastras use asanga shastrena dridena chitva. It's asanga shastra. Sangha is attachment. Asangha. Harish, the word sangha is attachment. Asangha is non-attachment or detachment. And how do you use that attachment, non-detached or non-attachment or detachment is compared to an axe, shastra. A shastra is an axe. So you have to use that sharp axe of detachment to get rid of the bond of attachment. It's not easy to get rid of the bond. You have to use that axe. So don't have a soft corner to yourself. If that in that state, if someone is, it is extreme tamasa. Tamas is extreme indulgence. That's a personification of indulgence. Not allowed, not accepted. Okay, Harish?
Yes, Guruji.
Right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Amitama?
Hi, sir. Yeah. Sir, can I go back to that example of going to the same restaurant every day? And I speak about my mother. She has come to a point in her life where she only needs a very specific diet, because she has realized over a course of time that this is the best thing for her in terms of, not giving any, digestion issues and things like that. So it's very, very simple. The diet is really simple, and every day she eats the same thing. Okay. Would you say that that is tamasic because nothing else excites her? She is not tempted by any other flavors or any other, dishes. She's only focused on, it's just porridge, very bland and very, very simple food. It's almost sattvic food, Would you say that this is tamasic? So it's almost as if she's renounced everything else, all her other tastes for other luxuries or other, flavors and tastes. And she's come to a very, very simple 1 or 2 items every day. And she's happy. She's in a complete content state. And no one can make her budge, No one can make her change or alter or taste something else. What would you say that state is? Is it renunciation or not?
Where are you? I hope you respect my decision. I will reserve my judgment.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
I would want you to exercise your assessment, discretion, and come to your
conclusion.
Conclusion.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
We can have a private conversation. Correct. That's always on. That channel is always open to anybody. You want to connect with me? I'm always reachable. I'm accessible. But I wouldn't want to make a judgment in a platform like this.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Sure. Appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah. The main reason why I say that also is this knowledge is not, I understand the context you're coming from, but I don't want to gain this knowledge more to gauge others. It's more to assess myself and go inward. Yes, you need to know the environment and the people that you are dealing. To that extent, you need to assess. But it is not meant for that. It's meant for self-diagnosis. It's going for self-inwardness. It's not for outward thing. All right. But I know you didn't come from that angle. I can understand the context of where you're coming from. Okay. She's very devoted to her mother. I've been with the family. I know the family for so many years. So I know where you're coming from, Amitama. All right. Okay. Hariji, yes, sir.
Guruji, Hari Om. I feel when we are talking about the very old people, I'm now talking out of my own experience. My mother lived till she was 98 years old. Food may not be the right example, because my mother used to have it only specific food. That is because she knew that this will not upset her physical condition, out of her own experience, and she never wanted to trouble her children by falling sick. So he said, no experiment. Let me take only this, so that I am okay, and my children will also not have any problem. But her attachment could be proven. She will stick to the same room, to the same bed, to the same cot. That if you change, Sama, you come and stay here, you have got more air and you will get fresh air. No. She will stick to the same room, whether it is dark or light, or same cot, same bed, same bed sheet. So food is not an example. Food out of her own compassion to her children. She didn't want to experiment and put her children into trouble. So I just wanted
Amitama, take note of these inputs. Okay.
That may be out of love. Her food, that she will have half cup of oats in the night. She will have little bit of rice, half idli. No, more. No, I'm quite okay. She didn't want to trouble others.
Point noted.
That is out of her love for the for people around her, not to put the others into trouble.
Thank you, Ji. I think point well said, well noted. Really appreciate. Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lakshmi Ma, you made a comment earlier. Also, anybody else who has commented, want to clarify, please feel free. I missed the chain of communication.
No,
Yes, Lakshmi Ma.
I just had a question in context to what you were saying at the time, because our vasanas determine our swadharma, right, Guruji? Am I wrong? Because if we respond to something, a stimuli, it's because our swadharma is towards that. And we have to be truthful to that. And if we renounce, something is driving us or pulling us, and that's our swadharma, and we resist it, we are not giving it a chance to exhaust it.
You know what this is called? What this argument in the context is perfect justification. I would use this argument as perfect justification to say, chalo yaar, my vasana needs a license. Let it go and exhaust itself. Why should I worry about it? No, I would not use this context of Swadharma and Paradharma here. Why I say that? Swadharma and Paradharma is only brought in to give you the field of my activity. What field am I activity to choose? Example, you don't have to worry of Swadharma now because you have already lived the life of action for 60 years. Example. I don't want you to make you feel older or younger. I just say example. That's why I said. Okay. Now, yet let's say. Correct. I know. You're very, very young. So, but yet, yesterday also I met my cousins and niece and things. So they are in their stage where they don't know what career to choose. They don't know their own personality. Am I to become a doctor? Am I to choose architecture? Am I to choose artificial intelligence? Is the in thing now. AI, everybody's talking of AI. I'm also talking of AI because they're talking of AI. I talk of AI. Now, am I to take AI as my profession? That is when you need to talk of Swadharma to them, because you need to choose a field of activity that is inclined to your predominant nature. What has that got to do When I got to burn my vasanas, I got to get rid of my vasanas, because the Atman, the truth of the self, is beyond these gunas, beyond the vasanas. So I have to deal with them. What has that got to do with my swadharma here? So they are two different, even though you're talking of vasanas, it's a completely different concept. And please don't use that. It will only, you don't get the essence in the context, please. என்ன
No, I was just trying to relate it to my swadharma and where it led me and where I am now.
You know, in the way you were gesturing, this is a typical Malaysian reaction. I was telling to myself.
Really?
These are typical Malaysians will respond. So I was telling to myself, I'm glad I'm still in touch with you all. So you need to be a little away from that to know what it is. You know, when you are so involved, being that, you will not know. No, let's not lose the track. But think over it, ma. It's a totally different concept. That's what I'm saying. All right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma. Yeah. Okay. So I suppose we have answered the second question. Now, the first question I mentioned is, how does letting go give you a sense of freedom? So I wanted you all to briefly, I would like to hear from some of them who have not opened up today. I would like to connect with them. So it's not the concept, the philosophy is familiar, but that experience, perhaps you can experiment on it in areas where you're still attached and experience that freedom or liberation. Okay. So Ramji, to begin with, do you have anything to share in the context, sir, to this question, please?
Hari Om, Guruji. I think it is a process which I have been going through. Let's say, just as one example, I used to do a lot of international travel. I used to do 15 days in a month international travel for about 8 years, 9 years. So every time I passed through Dubai airport, I used to feel so tempted that you get into that duty-free shop and you buy whatever is in your visibility, you know, whatever you see, and then carry huge loads. By the end of the 8th year, I gave up everything, in the sense that I never went there. Actually. Not because I was not interested, but because I felt that it is all useless, you know, buying all those things and bringing them home. So in a way, that gave me a lot of a sense of relief, I should say. I don't know whether you call it freedom, but it gave me a lot of relief that I have overcome that particular desire. So I don't know whether that is a good example for this context. But this happens, you know. I think I don't know whether it is because of the way we think over a period of time and realize the futility of acquiring so many things and then bringing them home and indulging in them. So that is my one example I can give. But otherwise, I think perhaps you might actually be referring to even more serious things, like, you know, you let go your desire or attachment to more serious things like material possessions, money, those kind of things. That I am still in the process. I have not overcome that still, but I think that is a journey I'm still going through.
I really appreciate those that experience shared. But I think the principle is the same. It's only being subjected to different levels. That's when you need to intensify the principle.
Yeah.
Because the desire is stronger, the attachment is stronger. Wherever there's attachment, and we all understand there is anxiety, there's restlessness, you lose your peace. Because synonymous of attachment is sorrow and suffering. Remember this, isn't it? So once we are convinced with it, it's just to intensify that quality to the area you need to apply. You could be very attached to your job. You could be very attached to, say, as your possessions. You could be very attached to your family. You could be very attached to the image you have created. 30, 40 years, you have built an image and somebody talks loosely about it, it hurts you. Why? Because you're attached to the name. The moment you are a public figure, what happens, sir? You are exposing yourself to opinions of others, isn't it? You know, I was listening to an interview, as I was a long drive, I was listening to an interview of, I think there's a head coach of badminton, Pulila Gopichan, you know, who is ex All England champion. And he was saying, the question he was asked was, how would you have dealt with the existence of the social media, or whether be it Instagram or Facebook and thing, how would have dealt with this in your time? He is past 50, maybe 20 years past all that era. And he said, none of that existed. He said, I did not allow that to come and disturb me. My condition was, I did not want to hear what the world thought of me. So there are no newspapers wherever I went into. Pre-ordered, there will be no newspapers in my hotel rooms, wherever I go. Because everybody talks and it comes and disturbs my focus, he says. So he used to cut off the world. So the moment you become a public figure, everybody will want to have a say, an opinion. Everybody becomes a coach. Everybody becomes an expert. So whether I had a person, a doctor, in fact, from Malaysia, used to tell me, I'm so attached to my name. How do we detach to it? I remember he asking me, I can't mention his name. So you got to apply the same thing, principles, you know. But the moment you let go, you feel that freedom, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right, sir. Thank you. Right. Maybe I hear from Redigaru. And then RPG also, please gather your thoughts, sir.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om, sir.
Yeah, in line with Ramji rightly mentioned, how does the letting go give you a sense of freedom? Is I have a strong, I can say the word addict of a non-vegetarian. And a couple of years, the day doesn't go through with a variety of the dishes there in that. I think the momentary gratification has made me to realize it's slowly let go. And today I'm 100% vegetarian. I think the vegetarian have a much more platter to have the advantages are there, fulfill the taste of the birds. So definitely that has given a lot of freedom for me in terms of the feeling and the love to the animals and the birds and the living creatures. What are we doing here, being an sensible human beings, and what we have, and when we have an option of getting the nutrition and other source, why not we let go? And I think the mental peace which gives to me is much more, gives me a lot of comfort, I can say that. In fact, if the option comes to this government, like two things which always I wish in my mind, I keep carving for that. One is let this ban on these tobacco products and as well as the liquor. And third is slaughtering the animals. I think that these are the areas you feel that there are optionals. There need not be a must to live in this world. I think hope a day comes where they can. I think even yesterday I just read in news that Gujarat, the banned preparation of non-veg food, non-veg restaurants on roadside, like a liquor, there is a ban, and even the non-veg food, they're moving away from the main roads to interior places, away from the schools and the temples and other places. So definitely the letting go is a lot of freedom, but we need to work inwardly, as you rightly said, that a lot on that to overcome your own limiting factors and the challenges what one goes through.
Right.
Pranam Guruji.
Thank you. I can understand how much comfort we get in doing certain things. Really appreciate that. RPG, yes, sir.
Hari Om Guruji. Two things real quick. So I think it was 2005, we as a household let go of cable television. So we don't have any TV coming into the house at all.
But when I come, I am a TV addict. When I come there, what about me then?
So you have to pay for your own cable.
Oh my God.
Here.
So I
I'll
need to
get
carry
it for
some.
you.
So I need to carry some dollars from India, you mean? That is
Yeah,
very
yeah.
unfair on you. That's very bad on you.
And I want no surcharge, direct cost, whatever you find, and I'll get it for you.
Okay.
But you pay for it.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll keep that in mind. You are planning to come to India? No, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. No worries.
Tit for tat.
That's right. So the freedom that's created for what almost 17 years now is countless hours, right? And then soon after that, so in 2010, 2011, we were exposed to this knowledge. And so now I think the majority of the time we spend with any streaming service or anything like that is in the consumption of this knowledge. So that freed us up. And we look at it as it's a cancer. The television is just a, cancer. Second thing real quick, in my last job, I was very specific about my clothing. I love fashion. And so I trimmed it down, and I've trimmed the wardrobe down even further, but I was very disciplined about what color shirt I wore on what day. And every week it was the same pattern. And so I didn't have to think. I didn't have to try to show off or anything like that. I always dressed well, but I didn't have to, this shirt with this logo or this color because it's more radiant or whatever. None of that. Every once in a while, I would wear something different just for variety, but largely it was always the same pattern. Again, tremendous freedom in the morning. I didn't have to think about it. I just put on my clothes. It was a uniform, and it just helped so much in getting ready in the morning. And actually, it's working from home now. It's not the same because you don't have to go through all that pomp and circumstance, right? Those are two things, Guruji.
Appreciate that. Right. So, but it's an extremely you need to have an extremely strong intellect to allow this spirit of renunciation to penetrate or invest into areas where you're attached, because that's the area its applicability is tested. You got to be detached in the areas of attachment. So I wish I could hear a lot more of you all. Time constraint. Maybe if you wish to, we can always revisit it next week just to get a different perspectives as well of your experiences. But it also mentally for you all to take note to where I should inject this principle of detachment. I'm getting too overwhelmed. I'm getting too carried away. I'm too concerned. It could be something happening in your job. It could be something happening in your family. Why am I getting so overwhelmed? Why am I allowing that to pin me down? Why am I allowing that to hurt me? So you must learn to let go in those areas and experience that freedom which you all have shared in different areas which related to your own life, which is understandable and appreciated. So the principle needs to be injected into areas. That's the need. That's the whole objective of going through this little exercise. All right. I'm afraid we are overshot. We'll have to come back. Shubhama, is there anything you need to clarify or say something? Can you make it real quick, please?
Hari Om Guruji.
Harioma.
Just one indication from my side is my life of this knowledge is I have involved in this knowledge thanks to, I would not say thanks to COVID, but it was my dad's death also, and there was a lot of trauma, and today this knowledge has really got back my sense of so I was really very I was going through a traumatic situations from a very long time.
Right.
So all the things have fallen in place, and I'm very, very thankful to this knowledge.
Absolutely.
So, most of my 80% of the day is into this knowledge now. So that's all I wanted to share. Everybody shared their different experiences, but 2019, I would say from 2020 itself, it was like a very bad patch. So I decided that this would give me a lot of relief, and it's really working on me. So I'm really very happy to get into this knowledge and get in deeper more and more.
I'm glad. I'm so glad, and very sorry for the loss, but what can only give comfort is that
other family members are not out of it, but I am out of it because of, I was like, time and again I was getting into this knowledge from the day he passed away. So I immediately I shifted my mind. So I'm in a position to tell my mother and my other people around me that this knowledge is giving so much of relief. If you lose your near and dear ones, how this knowledge is like making you forget those things. So
challenging.
I'm really very happy to my Guruji and my other to give this knowledge for me, so that I could go and tell them that I am so relieved, and that's what.
No, I can feel it. I can see what you're experiencing. I'm so glad. And perhaps, as Shubhama, I said, this is perhaps the most valuable thing is to lose your near and dear. There's no greater loss than that. And we all will be subjected to that experience, as, thank you, Shubhama, as the famous words of Bhajagovindam, Nalini Dalagata Jalamati Taranam. It says, life is like a drop of water in lotus deep. There's nothing guaranteed. I could lose my dearest person in my life the next moment. And when that happens, how prepared are you to face that loss? And that investment, if you don't do it now, that moment will hit like an avalanche, and you've lost, and you're lost that game of life at that moment. So there's no greater preparation to life than this knowledge. So I'm glad we could lend our ears to you, Shubhama. Thank you. So we'll have to leave it at that. We'll come back and continue. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.